Hello, Wintality here with another build video. Explosive Spear has always been such a cool skill, but rarely used as a main skill, because of how hard it is to have high uptime on frenzy charges. And without the charges, the skill feels pretty bad. With the changes to the Gemling Ascendancy, we are able to reach 100% chance to not remove our frenzy charges, which lets us get the full benefit of frenzy charging Explosive Spear all the time. We combine Explosive Spear with Barrage to repeat the skill multiple times, and with Tornado Shot we get even more Explosive Spears. So Barrage repeats our skill 8 times minimum, and with Heightened Charges support gem we can get 14 repeats. Combining this with Tornado Shot, we get more than 50 Explosive Spears from just one skill use. The build feels amazing to play, and it performs incredibly good. Enjoy the gameplay before we get into all the details.
My beloved. You will join them!
Let's get into the skills and support gems. So first up we have Spear Stab and Bow Shot, coming from the spear and the bow itself, the basic attacks. Also Spear Throw, and the reason why we have support gems in here is because of our Ascendancy that we will get into pretty soon. But we want to make sure that we have most amount of strength support gems compared to Dex, Intelligence and Kalguran. So keep that in mind. We have Virtuous Barrier. This is another thing that comes from our Ascendancy. So we are getting a barrier with protective gemstones, which you see around the character here. And what they do is that we gain a random mode every 0.5 seconds, and the maximum of each attribute of mode is 3 plus the number of skills you have, which require that attribute. And single attribute skills grant twice as many maximum modes. So we get 2% increased max life per strength mode. We get 5% increased armor, evasion and ES per dex node. And we get 7 increased life regen per intelligence, and also increased mana regen per intelligence. And then we have Purity of Fire, which is coming from our Scepter. We're gonna get into this pretty soon as well. Here we run Clarity 2 for some mana regen, Vitality 2 for regenerating max life per second, Cool Headed, so we take 50% less ignite duration, and we also use Cannibalism 2 to regen max life when we kill an enemy. And all of these gems you put in the Purity of Fire is gonna be free. So you see that this costs 20 spirit, 40 spirit, 15 and 30. And if I take this out, my spirit doesn't change. And that's one of the things with the Purity Scepters. You get these bonuses basically for free. And then we have Eternal Rage. This gives us 5 rage per second. This comes from our amulet, which I'm gonna get into pretty soon as well. Then we use Berserk. Berserk grants us 78% increased rage effect, but we lose 0.1 of our max life per second, which is why we use stuff like Vitality, Cannibalism, etc. to keep our life up and not down. And the Berserk's quality is pretty interesting as well, because of the quality that the Gemling Ascendancy, we get like additional quality per skill. And this gives us 16% max rage, pretty good, so we sit at 46 max rage. And then we have Explosive Spear. So Explosive Spear is a very interesting skill, because of how you can interact, or how it interacts with frenzy charges. So normally the detonation time of it is 2.5 seconds. You convert 60% of physical damage to fire. Number of projectiles cannot be modified. You pierce all targets, and you have a limit of 5 spears at the same time. So the quality this gives from the Ascendancy is chance to not remove charges on use. And that is basically the whole concept of the build. We want to reach 100% chance to not remove charges on use. And why is that? Well, when you frenzy charge Explosive Spear, you convert all your physical damage to fire. You get 100% increased ignite magnitude, explosion length is 7.2, explosion width is 1.5, ignited ground is 2 meters, and the duration is 8 seconds. So it looks like this when you frenzy charge it. You get this like cross explosion, and where the impact is, the ignited ground is happening. And you can see here we have 6 maximum frenzy charges, and since we have 100% chance to not remove charges, we can literally spam this forever and have the full benefit of frenzy charging all the time. So really good. And for the support gems here we use Long Fuse. This is increasing the detonation time, but the detonation time is removed when you frenzy charge it. It explodes on impact. So here we get 35% more damage. And we use Garakan Resolve, so max crit chance is capped at 50%, and our attacks can critically hit and bifurcate, which means that it rolls the crit chance, or it rolls the chance of critting twice. If both of those rolls actually succeed with a crit chance, we deal double crit damage bonus. So when we look in here, you see that we have 50% crit chance, we have effective chance for critical hits is 75, and effective chance for twice critical hit is 25%. So this goes up and down a bit, as you guys can see, and this is because of when we have or do not have a power charge, because of charge regulation. But even without a power charge, we sit at 49.24, which is almost max, so still pretty good. If you don't have Garakan's Resolve, it's a pretty damn expensive support gem. You want to use Pinpoint Critical here. And then we have Perpetual Charge, and this is really important to reach the 100% chance to not remove charges. This one alone gives us 25% chance to not remove the charge, but still count as consuming them. And then we use Rakiata's Flow. This is not needed for the build to work, neither is Garakan's Resolve. These two are pretty expensive, so if you don't have them, that's fine. As I mentioned, for Garakan's Resolve, you wanna put Pinpoint Critical there instead. For Rakiata's Flow, you could either go another damage support, like Deliberation, as an example. You can also go Fire Pen, but we are using Sacred Flame, which means that enemies in our presence resist elemental damage based on the lowest resistance, which is gonna be Chaos damage, which most enemies have 0, which means that they have 0 elemental resistance as well. But this is only inside our presence, and as you guys can see here, our presence radius is not that big. So if you don't have Rakiata's Flow, you want to make sure that you kill enemies within this radius here, and if you have Rakiata's Flow, you want to make sure that you are attacking outside of the radius to get the bonus from Rakiata's Flow, which inverts the elemental resistances. So try to keep that in mind. The last one we have is Elemental Armament 2, which grants us 25% more elemental attack damage. And then we have Barrage. So Barrage empowers our attacks to repeat 2 times, and further 1 time per frenzy charge consumed. And since we have 6 frenzy charges, plus the 2 that is baseline, it repeats our skill 8 times. The repeats deal less damage, but that is fine. We still do a lot of damage. As you guys can see, we are sitting at 2 million DPS on our explosive spear, which goes up and down a little bit depending on power charge or not. But yeah, barrage. So you basically activate this, and when you use your explosive spear, it repeats 8 times. So pretty strong, pretty strong. For the support gems here, we use Perpetual Charge. This has, once again, 25% chance to not remove the charges. Cooldown recovery too, so we get increased cooldown recovery rate. We use Olrot's Conviction, and this is a Kalguran support. So we get 100% of life and mana cost as extra runic ward cost. And that is the reason why we have some runic ward here on our character. And what this does is empowers the skill 2 additional times. So without this, 1 barrage means 1 empowerment. With this, 1 barrage is 3 empowerments, which is really, really good. We use Uhtred's Constellation. This makes us have 2 additional cooldown uses, and that is why you see the number 3 here. So if we use it, we can still, as long as we have ward for it, use it again. And then we use Heightened Charges. This has the chance to give us 20% chance to give us double bonus from the empowerment. So I'm gonna try to get it here. You will see a number in the corner here. 8 is the baseline, repeats 8 times. And when we manage to proc the Heightened Charges, it's gonna be a number 14 there. So now we don't really get it, which is a bit unfortunate when I want to show it. But you get the deal, right? Sometimes it's only 20% chance you're gonna have double bonus. We still are getting only 8s. So, yeah. It's not guaranteed to work every time, since it's a 20% chance, but when it works, it feels amazing. And then we have Tornado Shot. Tornado Shot is a bow skill. So that means we have to use a bow and quiver in our secondary weapon set. And the only things you care about on these 2 items is going to be attack speed. So we can shoot out the tornado shots faster. So this quill range shortbow here has pretty good attack speed, 2.5 per second. And then just a regular rare or unique quiver. Here we went with the implicit of attack speed with an additional attack speed roll on the quiver. And what Tornado Shot does is that you fire a tornado on the ground. It looks like this. So 1 shot gives us 3 tornadoes. You have a limit of 1 tornado, but with the quality that Gemling gives us, we have a limit of 4. And 1 shot gives us 3, so to get the 4, you need to shoot 2 times. And another thing with this one is that you can barrage this as well. And there is a small window that I will show you now, where you have the chance to shoot your explosive spear into the barraged tornado shot to get insane amount of projectiles or explosive spears. So baseline, you have 4, or actually we have 5 as baseline, sorry, because we use overabundance. So 5 is baseline, and if we barrage this, you see that we get a lot more, but the timing window is really small. So what that means is that if you're gonna use it, you need to make sure that you are using it really fast. And you also want to try to hit the middle tornado shot here, so it explodes on the middle and then hits all the other ones around it to get a big explosion of all projectiles. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but when it works, it looks and feels amazing. So that is going to be something that, like, you're going to have to play around with a little bit. And for the support gems here, we use durability, so we can hit it an additional 2 times. We use concentrated area. The reason for that is because we want to make sure that the tornado shots are in a small area and don't spread out. So that way we can hit all of them at the same time. Overabundance, so we have +1 limit. So that means we have, as I mentioned, 5 maximum as baseline, without the barrage. Multi-shot 2, we fire additional projectiles. And we use projectile acceleration here to give it more projectile speed so it goes a lot faster. And then we have Sniper's Mark. Sniper's Mark we have for 2 reasons. First reason is that our next critical hit against marked enemies have 113 increased crit damage bonus. Mainly use these on bosses, not in actual like mapping situations. The other reason for this is that we get a frenzy charge when we deal enough damage to a marked enemy. So when we first walk into a map, we are not going to have any frenzy charges, which means that we either have to wait for us to get them because of our thaumaturgic generator, or we use Sniper's Mark on a regular trash mob, and then we use Explosive Spear to kill that trash mob, which is going to give us the frenzy charge we need to just blast through the whole map. For the support gems we use Charge Profusion 2, so we have a chance to get an additional charge, plus 15% chance to grant an additional random charge. We use Efficiency 2 here, and this is to bring down the skill cost. And we use Eternal Mark here, so this means that the first time we would have consumed the mark, it doesn't get consumed, which means that we get the bonus from the increased critical damage bonus twice. And then we use Herald of Ash. This is to help a little bit with clear speed and AoE. Not that we like necessarily need it, but it's a pretty cool spirit gem here, and it looks nice when it procs, feels good. This is not needed, so if you feel like you can spend those 30 spirit on something different that would benefit you more, you can do that. And then we have Charge Regulation. So this one gives us 27 more crit chance when we have a power charge, which is pretty good. Again, it's not needed with Garrican's Resolve, but without Garrican's Resolve and Pinpoint Crit, this brings us to 100%, which is going to be needed to crit all the time. We also get 20% more armor, evasion and energy shield when we have an endurance charge, and we get 26% increased skill speed when we have a frenzy charge. And we have all the charges up, very consistent I would say. Because of how charge regulation works is that it consumes one of our charges every 14-15 seconds, which means that sometimes we're gonna lose one of these, but we are always gonna have frenzy charges, like always, but we might not always have endurance and power charges, but that's fine. And then we use Wind Dancer. Wind Dancer is to give us a little bit more evasion rating, and also a defensive layer for attacks that come in like close to us, melee attacks. So this one gives us Gale Force, which is going to increase our evasion rating, but also when we take damage, we are gonna knock back enemies, we're gonna explode them in a big AoE, and they are usually dying if there is a trash mob from this alone. It also helps if you are sprinting and getting knocked down to not die immediately. For the support gems we use Magnified Area 2, we use Blind 2, Maim, Knockback, and Elemental Armament. So all these are just like utility stuff, along with one damage support gem. And then we have Mana Remnants. So Mana Remnants have a chance to create a remnant whenever we are killing an enemy affected by ailments, or when we critically hit a target affected by ailments. And this creates a remnant that we can pick up to then get mana back. So you can see here that we are a little bit mana hungry if we decide to spam a lot. But with Mana Remnants we basically have no mana issues at all. In here we use Harmonic Remnants too, so we have 20% chance to create an additional remnant, and we can also pick them up from 35% further away. Remnant Potency to get 20% increased effect, and we also use Catal's Rejuvenation, which gives us increased cooldown recovery rate, which helps with Barrage and Sniper's Mark. So that is it for the support gems. So for the gear, you want to find a spear that has crit chance. Is going to be one of the most important things to get. You want it to be at or above 10%. Fast attack speed feels really good, but not needed. Either high physical damage or high elemental damage works as well, but the best case scenario here is to find something with high physical damage. You also want to have at least +3 or more projectile skills on it. And for the rune we are just increasing the physical damage here. So try to find something similar to this. And with the scepter that we have, we choose a Sacred Flame. Reason for this is that we gain a lot of extra damage as fire, 68% here. And it also helps if you don't have Rakiata's Flow, because of what we mentioned earlier with the enemies in presence resist elemental damage based on their lowest resistance. And in here we use another 15% increased spirit. And for the helmet, you want to look for high energy shield. You want to look for resistances, crit chance, rarity is pretty good. You also want to make sure that you have Raven Touched here. So Raven Touched is a new thing added with this league. It makes you able to instill your helmet with a passive, same way you do it on amulets. So here we have instilled Thaumaturgic Generator, which is one of the hidden or secret instills you can do. And this basically grants us charges, and it's based on our attribute requirements of skills. So strength requirements have a chance to give us a endurance charge or generates endurance charge, dexterity, frenzy charge, and intelligence, power charge. So basically here what it does is that we are going to get all of them, but the one we're going to get the most of is going to be frenzy charges because of our dexterity requirements. And also to instill this you're going to need to have let me see here. Actually, we can see it here. You need Melancholy, Disgust, and Isolation. And then for our amulet, it doesn't matter here if you instill Thaumaturgic Generator here and go with Paragon on your helmet, or the other way around. It doesn't matter at all, as long as you have both of them. So for the amulet we instill Paragon. So Paragon gives us 5% quality of all skills. And this is very important, general factor for this build to work. Because, what we mentioned earlier with 100% chance to not remove charges. So all the quality that we can get, is going to be very important here. And that is the reason we instill Paragon. On the amulet itself, we have a Absent amulet. It gives us Eternal Rage, which is once again going to regen rage for us. Since you, normally speaking, only can generate rage with melee attacks, we don't use any melee attacks. But in this case, we get the rage anyway, so very good. On the amulet itself, you want to look for +2 projectile skills and quality of all skills. Those two are the mandatory things. The other two modifiers can be whatever you want it to be within your budget. And for rings, you want to look for high physical damage, high fire damage. You want to look for resistances. If you need it, you want to have attributes. Otherwise, rarity is pretty good. So, same thing here. As many flat damages as possible. And resistances, rarity, attributes. For the body armor, you want to look for high evasion rating, high energy shield. And for the modifiers here, you want to look for, normally general defensive modifiers, like resistances, max life, those type of things. And in your body armor, you need to socket in a Fox Idol. So this makes idols socketed in this item gain the benefits of their bonded modifiers. So as you can see here, we have 10% chance to not remove charges but still count as consuming them. And we also get 5% quality of all skills. Bonded modifiers are usually only possible to get on a shaman if you don't use this. But with this, we can do it anyway. So you want to have a Fox Idol, and you want to have Idol of Eramir. So this is going to give us the 5% quality and the 10% chance to not remove charges on, but still count as consuming them. We have a cold resistance rune here, just to be able to cap our resistances easier. For gloves, you want to look for +2 projectile skills. If you can get flat damage types here as well, like physical, fire, cold, lightning, that is good. Otherwise, resistances or rarity, you want to look for high evasion, energy shield. For the boots, same thing here, either high energy shield or evasion. But most importantly, you can roll chronomancy modifiers, because that makes you have skills have 15% chance to not remove charges. And otherwise you want to look for rarity, max life, resistances, movement speed, the normal stuff for boots. But it's really important that you guys keep in mind, if you put this build together, you need all these like quality and chance to not remove charges to be able to reach the 100%. And for the belt, we are using a Headhunter. Headhunter is also not needed for the build to function, so if you don't have this, go for a good rare belt or any other like cool unique belt that you think can work good. If you have a Headhunter or Mageblood, that would obviously be the optimal way. And for the charms, we use a Rite of Passage Spirit of the Owl. This one gives us 60% increased energy shield, 80% increased damage, and gain 20% of damage as extra cold. So a pretty good one. This is also not needed for the build to work, so go with whatever Rite of Passage you have. If you don't have a Rite of Passage, go with whatever you want. We use the Thawing Charm to be immune to freeze, and we use Fall of the Axe. This makes us unaffected by slows, and when we are slowed, we gain Onslaught. For the flasks, high life regen here, and we are using a Lavianga's Spirit flask here. So this is also pretty important because of how we set up one of the nodes in the passive tree that we are going to get into right now. So for the passive tree, we are obviously a Gemling. You want to get Virtuous Barrier, you want to path up here to get 2% quality of all skills. You want to go up here, so you get +2 levels of all skills with Dexterity requirement. Since Explosive Spear has a Dexterity requirement, that makes us have a +2 to Explosive Spear. We also go here to reduce the equipment skills have reduced attribute requirements, and we also get Gem Studded. And here you have 3 options. So for each color of socketed support gems, we can get, for red, we get hits have no critical damage bonus. For blue, skills have less cost, and green, 40% less movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. We went for red here, so we have a little bit more defenses. And that is the reason why we have 13 total red support gems, which is gonna be more than our Dex, Int, and Calguran, which makes us have the bonus of this one, right here. You can choose here to go with blue or green. The red is, as I mentioned, for the defensive aspect of it, but if you prefer the blue or green, you can go with that. And then for the passive tree, we are going here for some crit chance and crit damage. Go up, grab the jewel socket, get the crit damage and crit chance over here. We go up here and we grab Spectral Ward. So this one gives us +1 to max energy shield per 12 item evasion on equipped body armor. So you want to make sure that you have high evasion on the body armor to then get high energy shield. We go up to the left here, we grab even more crit chance, jewel socket, another jewel socket, and another jewel socket. Then we go down here, we grab Throat Seeker for increased crit damage bonus. Go down here for the jewel socket. Over here for crit chance and crit damage. Here we go for Fervor. This gives us +2 to maximum frenzy charges. We then go down all the way down here. We path in here to get increased crit damage bonus with spears. And then we go all the way down here for another jewel socket. And then we grab Crystal Elixir. And this is the reason why we use a Lavianga flask. So this one gives us 40% increased elemental damage with attacks during any flask effect. And the Lavianga makes our flasks be applied constantly, which means that we have a 40% increased elemental damage with this one. And we also go in here for another jewel socket, and we grab Cooked, which gives us increased crit damage bonus with another crit damage and crit chance nodes around it. And we then go into the left here. So here we get increased Frenzy Charge and Power Charge duration. This is not needed. The one we are looking for here is going to be the Fabled Stag. This one gives us a 10% chance to not remove charges, but still count as consuming them. We go all the way in here. We grab Frenetic for a +1 maximum of Frenzy Charge. And when we gain a Frenzy Charge, we have a chance to get an additional Frenzy Charge. We also grab Subterfuge Mask. And this one gives us +1 to evasion rating per 1 item energy shield on equipped helmet. And that is the reason why you want to have high energy shield on your helmet, to then get high evasion rating. And we also go up here for some Dazed nodes. So Dazed is gonna give us critical hit chance against the Dazed enemies. And we also get increased damage against the Dazed enemies. So for the jewels, we can start off with the ones up here. Here we just have a regular emerald. You want to look for increased crit damage bonus, increased crit chance, attack damage, elemental damage. Down here we use Heart of the Well. Here you want to look for double gain, you want to look for crit chance and crit damage. We don't have the crit damage here, which is fine, but not optimal. We then have a Megalomaniac. Oh, sorry, this is the From Nothing diamond. This gives us passive in radius of Dance of Death can be allocated. Dance with Death is the node down here. And that is giving us the possibility to grab Roll and Strike, increased damage with spears, increased attack damage with spears. Attack speed as well. Precise Point gives us increased damage. We also get Focused Thrust, which gives us 40% increased projectile damage with spears, while there are no enemies within 3 meters. We also grab Acceleration for increased movement speed and skill speed. Here we use Split Personality. As you guys probably already saw here, we are pathing from the monk side of the tree, right? Usually Gemling starts down here. With Split Personality, this one can allocate passive skills from the Shadows starting point, which is the same as the monk. And the way you make this work is that you start off by pathing from your Gemling. You go down straight down here, you put in Split Personality, you then path from your Gemling side to your monk side, grab the jewel socket. When you connect both sides, you can then move the jewel socket or the jewel from here to up here, and then you can unspec the nodes that you travel to this side with, which makes us able to path immediately from this side and don't have to use all the travel nodes down here to get to this side. Here we use a Time Lost. This one gives us increased elemental damage for small passives. Notables gives us increased crit chance, increased crit damage bonus, increased magnitude of poison. We don't really poison, so that doesn't matter, it's kind of a dead stat, but you want to look for crit chance and crit damage bonus as a minimum here. So when we grab these notables over here, and over here, and over here, all of them is going to give us crit chance and crit damage bonus. The small ones are going to give us increased elemental damage. And for the jewel over here, we use a +2 to Explosive Spear. +3 would be the optimal, obviously, but that one is pretty expensive. So go with a +2 or a +1, depending on your budget. And over here we have the Megalomaniac. So the most important thing you want to look for on the Megalomaniac is going to be Jack of all trades, which is the node down here. So we get 2% increased damage per 5 of our lowest attribute. And as you guys can see here, we have pretty high amount of attributes, even on our lowest, which makes us get a lot of damage from this node. If you can get another good node along with Jack of all trades, that would be the best, but this is the only one you need or want for this build. We found one with Engineered Blaze, which is the node here. So we get 4% increased AoE for attacks per enemy you have ignited in the last 8 seconds, up to 40%. Since we are mainly doing fire damage, we are igniting all the time, which means that we have very high uptime during a map of the 40% increased AoE. And yeah, that is basically it for the passive tree. Once again, I want to show you the Paragon and the Thaumaturgic Generator. Both of these are hidden or secret notables that you can instill, which means that you need to know which liquids to use. So for Paragon, Ferocity, Isolation, Despair. Thaumaturgical Dynamism, or Thaumaturgic Generator, is Melancholy, Disgust, and Isolation. And that is pretty much it for the build. Have gone over everything, so if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you decide to put this build together, I hope you're gonna have as good time as I have, because this build has been truly a blast to play, to put together. It's really enjoyable. And Explosive Spear, it feels so good when you don't consume the frenzy charges. You can just go around and use the explosions like literally all the time. And as we have showed, you can also barrage all the stuff here to get big AoEs, big explosions. It is so much fun. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, take care.